morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I want to check in on the price of gold cards. In the Sun and Moon sets and all these Sun and Moon sets, we get ourselves some gold cards every so often. And I do get a lot of questions from people about the price of cards and the value of cards and what they should be trying to pull, etc. So I thought, well, you know what? What we should probably do is have a nice little video and have a look at some of these prices and see which are the ones you really should be going after. Now, a quick reminder here that we are using buy prices from Japanese shops here. And essentially, so that way we can use, because there are some that are Japanese exclusive, some that are new, etc. And essentially, what we're looking at here is the price to buy cards, which is going to be lower than the price they sell them for. And we need to bear in mind that Japanese singles are generally cheaper than singles outside of Japan. So you have been warned, ladies and gentlemen. Got that out of the way? Good. Because we're going to start off with the number one card, the most expensive, the one that most people are after here. I mean, you can probably guess it, right? It's blatantly Zacian V. Had to be Zacian V. People love Zacian V, except it's not Zacian V, that was a psych. Sorry. It's actually a card that I'm willing to bet most people didn't guess. Because I wouldn't have guessed this. Thinking about the most valuable gold card, I would not have guessed that it would be Switch. Yep. The gold version of Switch. How weird is that, ladies and gentlemen? How weird is that? A card that actually came around in the Sun and Moon base set is coming around as the most valuable card. How weird is that? And now, just to be clear, 20,000 yen. At today's exchange rate, we're talking about £144 or $190. So, and bearing in mind, again, these are buy prices in Japan. You can add a fair bit to that in terms of the price you would actually expect to be paying. But Switch? Now, the best explanation that I can give you here is that Switch is a card which is always legal. Like, since it came out in the base set, it has always been legal. So, essentially here, it is a card that you can buy and spend a bunch of money on, and you know that it is going to retain its value. Now, the weird thing is, it is not that way outside of Japan. I could easily go and pick up a gold Switch for like $35 right now, and it wouldn't be that difficult. So I'm putting Switch at the top as a bit of an anomaly. I'm not sure why it's quite so expensive in Japan, but it is by far the most expensive, which is weird. The second most expensive you shouldn't be particularly surprised about. It is the gold Reshiram and Charizard. Interesting, of course, because Reshiram and Charizard, the gold version, hasn't come out over here. We have not had the gold tag teams. Just haven't made their way over here. Japan has. Now, 18,000 yen, you're talking about £130 or $170. But if this gold card makes it outside of Japan, and if it is not some promo that is super easy to get hold of, you are going to be talking $400-500 easy. If it's a very rare card, this is going to be one that people buy in grain and sell for a few thousand in the future. It is a frankly rather ridiculous card. People are going to love it. The other really expensive of the tag teams is Pikachu and Zekrom, which is coming in at half that. It's coming in at 9,000 yen, so you're talking about £65 or $85. Pikachu and Zekrom is a good card. It sees a huge amount of play. It is one of the best cards around right now and has been for a long time. Plus, you've got Pikachu on there as well, so this is probably to be expected. The other really expensive one in terms of the tag teams is your Mewtwo and Mew. Now, Mewtwo and Mew is coming in at 6,000 yen, so you're talking 2/3 of your Pikachu and Zekrom, and you're going to be talking about £43 or $57. But again, Mewtwo and Mew is a very playable card. It's a really, really good deck. So it is understandable that that is the case. Plus, of course, Mewtwo and Mew are fairly popular Pokemon. Outside of that, they're not hideous. They're certainly below a bunch of just the regular gold cards. I mean, the Bird Trio comes in at 2,800 yen, which is just a little below half of Mewtwo and Mew, which you're talking about £20 or $27. And it's a good card. It sees a bunch of play. It's one, I mean, I showed you a deck the other day using this and a bunch of random stuff that seemed like it was a really fun one you should go and have a bit of a play with. Turned out to be quite a popular video too. And it's certainly a card that people like, and it's got the legendary trio, so that kind of helps to explain it. But then you could look at something like Lucario and Melmetal that's coming in at 1,200 yen. Well, 1,200 yen, you're talking like £8.60 or $11.40. That is not a particularly expensive card at all. And Lucario and Melmetal has been a pretty good card. It's one that's seen a bunch of play. It sees play with Zacian, and it tanks and reduces damage done to all of your metal Pokemon for the rest of the game by 30. But for some reason, it's just not ended up being particularly good in that regard. Now, it is worth bearing in mind that Zacian with Lucario and Melmetal did occupy 2 of the top 8, 4 of the top 16 at the last big Japanese regionals, which is kind of interesting, but for some reason the value just isn't there. It is worth pointing out that Metal Goggles did just rotate over in Japan, so maybe people saw that coming and just didn't think this archetype was going to be as good in the future. Maybe it's because these Pokemon aren't quite as popular as your Gen 1ers. I'm honestly not entirely sure, but price-wise this one's quite a bit lower. Now, moving away from the tag teams, there is a clear number 1 other than Switch, which is still terribly confusing. You're talking about your Zacian V. Now, Zacian V, it's the best card in the game, right? It's being bought in Japan for 7,000 yen, so you're talking about £50 or $66. And this is one that an awful lot of people are, well, very into, shall we say. Because it's a great card. It's the best card in the format. It's going to survive the next rotation. So it's not terribly surprising to know that it's going to be a very expensive card. Now, weirdly enough, outside of Japan, the price for this is about $70. So the buy price in Japan, the price in Japan is actually a little bit higher than over here, weirdly. But, you know, it is Zacian, and Zacian's super popular, so maybe we shouldn't be terribly surprised. The next highest one really here you're talking about is your Zamazenta V, and again, we've got a very similar thing going on. Now, let's be clear, Zamazenta V is not at the same level of Zacian, but it's still a very, very good card. Now, it's coming in at 4,500 yen, so we're talking around about £32 or $43. Which is moderately expensive in terms of cards go. It is a $50 card generally outside of Japan. That's what I could easily go and pick it up for today. Although some people are charging more, but you could generally pick it up quite easily for about $50. So again, there's quite a bit of value to be had there, although there is a steep drop-off from Zacian. Zamazenta is a great 1 or 2 off to block V Maxes, but it's not quite on the same level. And the only other one that's really getting up there is your Rare Candy. Now, Rare Candy is a great card. Like any Stage 2 deck, really, outside of a few exceptions that get bonuses for evolving up manually, are going to want to play Rare Candy. It lets you evolve a basic directly into a Stage 2, which is something that is, shall we say, rather wonderful. Now, in terms of Rare Candy here, you're talking 5,000 yen, which, I mean, it's more than Zamazenta. You're talking about £36 or about $47, somewhere in that range. The thing is, this is another card that we've seen released over here. We have a price we can go for, and again, you've got to, you know, take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But this is a card that's only selling for around about $16 over here. Honestly, the most valuable of the Rare Candy is actually the reverse holo from EX Emerald, of all things. But look how beautiful it is, so I don't blame them. Honestly, having seen it now, I kind of want to go and get one of those myself. That's like a $50 card. The thing is, outside of the ones I've mentioned, there's not really that much value to be had. There are a few which are notable. Reset Stamp, which is a staple in pretty much every deck. Makes your opponent shuffle a hand into their deck, draw a new hand equal to their remaining prizes. You're talking 3,200 yen, which is £23 or about $30. But again, it's one that's been released over here, so we can just take a look at how much, and you're generally talking about a $13 card. So, I mean, I keep telling you that singles are generally cheaper in Japan, and they are, but it seems like these gold cards actually tend to be cheaper over here than they are in Japan. I'm not lying to you, but certainly some of the evidence here is not backing me up as much as it could. There are a couple of Pokemon that are worth mentioning. The Frostmoth, the secret rare, is being bought for 2,500 yen. You're talking £18 and $24. Outside of Japan, that is a card which is, I mean, you can generally pick this up fairly easily for about $40. So that's a bit more in line, shall we say. That's about what it's going to cost in Japan when it's being sold by the shop. But Frostmoth lets you attach as much water energy as you like to your bench Pokemon during your turn, so you can see why that's a bit more sought after. Similarly, Rillaboom comes in just a tad under here at 2,200 yen. You're talking about £16 or $21. And again, we can look at an English price here, or a US price, or call it what you will, and that's generally coming in at about $50. So again, they're going to be somewhere in the same region. And Rillaboom here lets you search your deck for 2 grass energy and attach them to your Pokemon, which is cool. Still doesn't see a huge amount of success, but people are still liking Rillaboom and wanting it to win. The fact of the matter is, outside of that, a lot of these cards are straddling just above or below 1,000 yen, which is, you know, £7 and under $10. Most of these gold cards are not as valuable as you might think, but we've run through some of the most expensive ones here, and if you're going to be buying packs and opening them, these are the ones that you very much want to be looking out for, except for the gold tag teams that haven't been released over here, but you never know. Maybe one day, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe one day. For now, I'd like to know what you think about these. I'd like to know if you've pulled any of these gold cards, and I'd like to know which ones of these you'd be willing to go and pay for. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.